Hello, everyone. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to remind you that my book, Drummers on Drumming, is available now on Amazon as both a paperback and an ebook. Based on the Big Fat 5 segment of this podcast, where I sit down with my favorite drummers to discuss the 5 records and stories that shaped their approach to the instrument, this book is packed with insights from the drummers who redefined how we think about the modern drum set. You can grab your copy now by checking the link in this episode's show notes or simply searching Drummers on Drumming on Amazon. So thank you for all the support, and now let's get into the show. What is up? Welcome back to Drummers on Drumming, a podcast powered by Big Fat Snare Drum. My name is Ben Hilsinger, and I'm back with Rafa Vidal and Eric Urea. And this is a long time coming. Part 1 was 3 months ago at this point. So this is part 2 of us going through the list of Chick Corea's cheap but good advice for playing music in a band. The first one, we went 1 through 6 because we ended up going a lot slower than I thought, which is good. It means we were actually having a good conversation, so it's not a bad thing. But now we're going to hopefully get through 7 through 16, so we'll see. But let's just start. We'll go through each one and kind of pontificate how it affects our lives and what our interpretations of it. But for those who haven't listened to the first episode, I'd suggest you go do that. But the reason why I brought this up is because Rafa was doing kind of an improv jam night, and he had this kind of passed out on the tables, and it was such a fun little nugget to inspire you to then go on stage and do your own thing. And it's all thanks to you, Rafa. Thanks for bringing it up and re-bringing it into my life, because I had seen it a few years beforehand. But thanks again, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's just all the intention to make that space of expression as open and considerate to everyone in the room, to make something really special and magical through our means of expressing ourselves and our instruments.
Absolutely. Before we get into it, Rafa, can you do a quick little recap of what you're doing within the LA community when you are home, which is rare?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been almost a year now since I've gone in this endeavor, developing touch grooves, creating live events with the intention to connect artists directly to the audience, eliminating the middlemen. No Spotify or Live Nation to get in the middle of that. With, the intention of creating really intentional and present moments. So we check phones at the door, everyone is present, and we are hoping to throw on live shows of artists that want to put their own projects out into the ether in front of people that actually care, to then be recorded and printed onto physical copies, and to never be put on any DSPs. That way the artist gets to choose the value of their art, and those that are present get to be a part of that and be supportive. And just building that platform so that all us musicians and artists can excel together, because the current system is not working. And just want to be a part of that ripple to make a change.
That's the understatement of the world. The current system is not working. Absolutely. Well, along those lines, to make the best music possible in those kind of situations, let's go into the list. And so number 1/number 7. So this is the 7th of the full 16. It is, if you play more than one instrument at a time, like a drum kit or multiple keyboards, make sure that they are balanced with one another. Hearing that, Eric, what does that mean to you?
I mean, that to me is like the most important thing about being a drummer, really making sure that you're playing with the consideration of like what the audience and your band members are hearing, right? You're making the kick drum part pop out if that's what is really holding down a foundation, not slamming away on cymbals and drowning out everybody else. That's like professional drummer 101, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like, specifically as drummers, we have so much real estate in the frequency spectrum. So being aware of that, the concept of being a professional, kind of touches on that exact thing. You want to be filling in the spaces where maybe other instruments aren't reaching in that specific frequency spectrum,
Mm-hmm. What part of your kit gives away your nerves first and shows that you're not focusing on the overall balance of everything? For me, it would be the hi-hat. I mean, I'm a broken record on this podcast, but I think the hi-hat tells everything you need to know about a drummer. How relaxed they are, how in the moment they are, how much they're listening to the vocals, because some drummers just, and I include myself in that, it's my worst offense. We do things on the hi-hat to, I don't know, keep ourselves engaged, but it just steps over so much, or it just becomes something that we do without even realizing it.
Right. I have to agree. The hi-hat is probably the most expressive part of the whole drum set. You're just playing a couple shows these last few days, and even just playing 16th notes, disco vibes, deciding where to throw those accents. If it's just the ands on the upbeats, or if you throw a couple of the E's on the ahs, just maybe one every bar, and how different that makes it feel. And if I throw a little diddle in between, because I am trying to make my ADHD drummer self happy.
You're among friends here.
Maybe I'm neglecting the hi-hat and I sound like crap all the time. For me, it's the snare drum. I think about the snare drum the most. I have a pretty heavy left hand, so that can be a big detriment when I'm in a smaller room. But I think that the thing that probably pops out the most for me is ghost notes. Similar to what you're saying about diddles on the hi-hat for 16th notes, if I start dropping in too many ghost notes on the snare drum, I'm not thinking about anybody else. Just like, what am I doing? I feel like I got to fill up the space. And I really don't. So, yeah, for me, it's probably the snare drum.
Yeah, I guess I'm also, to add one more, the dome of the ride cymbal. I think most drummers, again, I say most drummers, I'm really just talking about myself. The dome is not to be played with the same intensity as the way you're hitting any other cymbal. The dome will cut through so much, and I feel myself almost having to play at like 25% of what I think it should be, and that's where it sits in the mix, going back to balancing everything. But I have to consciously make sure I don't hit that thing, because with Eve 6 especially, there are some songs, I mean, they're a late 90s band, early 2000s band, so the dome and splash cymbals are not prevalent in the choruses. Yeah, I become very annoying very quickly if I'm not very aware of that. All right.
Dome,
So
you mean the bell, yeah?
Oh, did I say dome? Sorry,
You
the
said
bell.
dome. I've never heard the dome before. I was like, maybe this is a new.
The dome. I don't know where I would have heard that. Maybe I'm thinking of Pauly Shore, but all right. So number 8, don't make any of your music mechanically or just through patterns of habit. Create each sound, phrase, and piece with choice deliberately. So my question is, how much of your playing right now is choices versus reflex?
That's interesting, because especially when I'm on tour and we're playing the same songs every night, there's a certain aspect of mechanism, right? You just kind of go on and play the part, and that can be very helpful when things are going south and you need to improvise to make the show go on. When this happened at Bottle Rock a couple weekends ago, our guitar player didn't have his slide for one of the songs, and he made a note of me to just, dude, I don't have my slide. And while playing, communicating to front of house through the talkback, we need the slide, and front of house not getting any of it, and having to hit up my buddy side stage, Joe, screaming as I'm playing, like, find this, and somehow it worked out last minute, and he pulled it out. And so that's where I think the mechanical part is beneficial, and I think a lot of that type of playing feels mechanical. I think that the intention still plays through in terms of okay, how am I playing these eighth notes on the hi-hat? How is my stick bouncing off of the snare drum to deliver the right emotion that this song requires? I think that's where the intention really lives in this sense. But then as well, it makes me think of Elon Rubin. Just saw him perform with the Foo Fighters. And man, that guy is both mechanical. He's a machine playing the exact parts, but also Dave Grohl has been able to break him a little bit to just let him play freely and have that intention. And man, those solos, man, just makes me want to drop my sticks forever. That guy is a monster. So I see what Chicory is going for here. he doesn't want it to be mindless. I think it's about being intentional when you're aware of your environment and what the music is asking of you or you feel drawn to express. I think that intention is the most important thing.
Yeah, and this makes me think of, I forget who, maybe it's Steve Gould is the person whose chapter in my next book that I was working on, and he was talking about Brian Blade and how you think about Brian Blade and, well, pause there. You think about Elvin Jones, and you can think of like the Elvin licks, and like there's things like the Bonham licks, all the, insert any drummer who's well known, and you're like, okay, well, how would you interpret how Ringo would do this certain groove? And there's definitely a little Rolodex per drummer you can pull from. But with Brian Blade, I can't think of any, and I agree with Steve when he said this, I can't think of any lick or anything that makes me think of Brian Blade. Brian Blade is purely in the moment reacting. There's nothing that he does habitually. And so that's kind of the kind of drummer, I guess, that Chick Corea is talking about is you can be yourself, but don't do anything that's not the reaction to the moment in the moment. You're not pulling out like, I've been working on this, so this will work here, even though it might. It's just like kind of play like you've never played drums before and you're just reacting. And again, I'm paraphrasing what I believe Steve said about Brian Blade, but I think you get the point.
I feel like that same headspace that like Brian Blade is at is the same headspace that you're at when you're when you're yelling at somebody side stage. It's just this weird like thing where you don't have to think about the mechanics of what you're doing. It's not the choice of should I play a paradiddle, right? Like that doesn't. It's what is that shape dynamically, and is that the kind of message you want to convey? It's more about conceptual things than mechanical things.
All right, so number 9. Guide your choice of what you play. Guide your choice of what you play by what you like, not by what someone else will think. There you go. If I edited it out, that was like the 5th time I read that out loud.
I think this kind of goes into trusting your own voice on the instrument instead of like taking account of who is in the room. To me, the most impressive drummers that I've seen are the ones that are just serving the music and playing in their own terms with their own voice. Someone that can play the instrument and fill the space in a way that makes you feel the emotion of the song fully and makes you feel something truly emotional from within. I think that's the whole magical formula,
And the express way to do that is to have it come from within.
Right.
Anytime you're doing something that you think you should be doing, it's already being filtered through at least one filter.
I mean, I've just had instances where I haven't fully known where I want to go with what I'm playing, especially in the improvisation mindset. But when I just kind of let it happen through me and someone else really connects to that, it like feels like so much validation for what I'm doing, for the moments where I'm being harsh on myself, that imposter syndrome thing where I tell myself, man, I'm the worst drummer alive and I need to eat my veggies, doing all the rudiments to get better and whatnot. But it's just when you're fully yourself and you're in that environment of true flow state, someone's gonna connect with you and meet you there in that same wavelength, And I think deeper you are within that, the more people you're reaching and the more people you're connecting and so on and so forth.
I think there's a certain level of selfishness that you should have as an artist, like you should be doing the things that are exciting to you. The one kind of caveat I think I would change about this is I would say, I know I'm out here correcting Chick Corea. No, but I would say don't do what you think your audience would enjoy necessarily. Right. I think it's fine. Like, I will totally play what I think my bandmates or the people I'm sharing the stage with are going to get a reaction from and like something that's going to excite them. I'll do that sometimes over my own personal first choice, right? But yeah, I think finding your voice is about finding the onstage package's true voice,
I'm not disagreeing with you. I actually 100% agree with you, Eric, but how do we grapple with the fact that I do need to care about what the audience is like. Obviously, I think we're all mature enough in our musicality that we're not going to make a choice that is just like, holy crap, fuck the audience.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think it's purely that's such a contextual thing, because I think if you're in your own band and you're writing music, considering what the audience will enjoy, in my opinion, feels like a recipe for disaster, because you're not being your true self. You know, like what is going to give you the most excitement in the writer's room, to me, is like what you should always gravitate towards, and whether or not your audience will enjoy it is a secondary thought, if it's a thought at all. But, you know, if we're talking like a hired gun situation, you know, that's obviously it's my opinion doesn't matter at all.
Well, I guess, do you think art is for the artist or the receiver of the art, ultimately?
I think it's for the artist, and I think when you truly tap into something that is uniquely yourself and your voice, that resonates with a larger audience. People relate to that. I think when you're trying to appeal to an audience, I think not 100% of the time, but I think generally speaking, an audience can suss it out. Maybe I'm naive, but
It's what you call corny, in my opinion.
yeah.
I'm in the school of never consider the audience before what you're doing. But sometimes with the people that I work with, that's not, or have the space to make that voice heard. But yeah, I fully believe that I really would want every artist to do what they think would be the best show for themselves, and then let the audience make that decision for themselves. Like, once you're on stage, connect with them, but prior to it, like making those decisions, like I want the best, like trying to create all the variables to be on your side to make you perform your best. Because that's what I think will be the magic formula to a true impactful connection with that performance to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
When you're considering that the audience and what they might like and what they might not, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Not to mention what kind of moving target that is anyways.
Right.
Number 10, use contrast and balance with the elements, meaning high, low, fast, slow, loud, soft, tense, relaxed, dense, sparse, the end. I'll equate it back to this, and it was interesting that I was kind of forced to realize this in real time the other day. So with LP being so busy, I am having to sub out a lot of Eve 6 gigs, like upwards of almost 10 this year. And so my sub had his first practice with the band a few days ago, because we had a show that was in town between two other shows, and so we had a day off, and so we just all practiced. Well, I was there. They practiced, and I was there to help. Anyways, and I was watching him play the songs, and he was playing more to what the record was. And it was interesting that we all realized that there's certain times throughout the songs that I push and pull the tempo. That's a very big part of our live show that we've developed, and that was something that I don't necessarily think he was having a problem with, just anyone would. And so I didn't realize how much I use that with Eve 6, like going into a bridge. I'll slow down 3 or 4 BPM pretty noticeably, and that really makes the song feel good. And when I was listening to them play and he didn't slow down on certain parts, it really changed a lot. And I think why I love Eve 6 so much is that everything else I play is to a click, you know, because there's a lot of lights going on. There's a lot of production. It's not necessarily because the musicians can't do it on stage, but the overall show, sometimes you have to have time code. And with Eve 6, it's not that. Not that that's better or worse, but it's just that's something that I use with Eve 6 that I'm unable to use in other bands. That's my biggest thing, that it was the first time I've ever seen my band not with me on stage, and how much that changes it when they don't do that.
The more you can increase the distance between the two ends of the spectrum of whatever category that is, whether it's speed, whether it's dynamics, whether it's frequencies or whatnot, the more space you have to express everything in its own lane, almost like nothing is kind of getting jumbled up, or you're not getting squished down to just
clarity.
So you're super clear. And when you're able to, I think specifically with jumping rates, when you're able to do a fill that's in, quarter note triplets, and then you jump into something more straight with 32nd notes or 16th notes. It adds more variety to it, and it becomes something easier to process instead of a show where all the fills are in 32nd notes or 16th note triplets and it's all blah, and what are you actually saying with that? Every now and then, all you need is just one hit. A well-placed hit goes a long way.
What I always tell my students, especially, and even artists I work with, I feel like I say this all the time, if everything is loud, then nothing is loud. Like, that contrast is everything. Loudness doesn't mean anything if there's not something soft to compare it to, right? You could just turn the whole song down and then it's all quiet. It doesn't matter. I feel that same way, similar to what you're saying about rhythms, right? Like, to me, it's like if you're playing like a regular time groove or a double time groove and then you slam this big giant triplet fill and then it opens up into a halftime chorus, it's like, boom. That's that contrast setup. You're using rhythms to kind of provide space and openness and kind of paint a picture. So yeah, I mean, like, note saturation, to me, everything musical is in the contrast. Otherwise we're just slamming away, especially as drummers. Like, the one tool in our arsenal, we can't play beautiful melodies, but we can create some really interesting dynamic tension utilizing our contrast.
Yeah. I think also, like, considering the things that are implied, the notes implied by the space you're leaving is also a magical thing. And to also touch on the dynamics thing that you're just mentioning, there's such a powerful thing to go as quiet as possible to truly captivate an audience. Because then everyone has to really tune in and be present in that moment to understand what you're doing because you're being quiet. I think the silence captures that attention, and then you can, hit them with the loud.
yeah. It's going to be so much more impactful.
Exactly.
That moment where you lean in.
Yeah, it's like if you have one red brush, at first it's like, okay, there's red over here, but if you're just doing that only red brush, eventually it's just a red canvas. And it's just like there's nothing. Yeah, it's not about the notes on the page. I know I'm a broken record, but it's not about the notes, it's how you play the notes. Going back to this rehearsal the other day, it was interesting how just this one, it needs to lay back. Like, he was playing everything perfect, and he did a great job. I'm not trying to make this drummer sound like he didn't do a good job. I'm really stoked he's subbing for me. He's going to kill it. But it was interesting seeing how they communicated with him, because he was playing the right part, but they're like, oh, pull back here, make this feel like this, focus on the guitar. I'm kind of lagging behind because it's a syncopated chorus, and there's so much going on than just learning the pattern. That's the first step. All right, so number 11. Play to make the other, this is the most important one, I think. Play to make the other musicians sound good. Play things that will make the overall music sound good.
I remember someone told me a few years ago that it's really stuck with me that being a good drummer is like having a moment with everybody on stage. Just like a quick moment where you're locking in and you're kind of laughing, having a good time. You're giving them a moment to be like, let's do this together and have some fun. And that always kind of stuck with me, and I think that kind of plays into this idea of just, you want to provide a landscape that everyone is going to enjoy exploring. You certainly don't want to trudge over everybody and step on their toes. You also don't want to give them nothing. So it's finding that balance to make things exciting. I would agree with you, Ben, that this is probably the most important one.
Yeah, I think that element of selflessness in a collaborative space is the most important thing, for sure. That's what I try to do with this exact thing for these open jams, is to bring the awareness, to encourage the selflessness and avoid the whole ego trip that some people might have, and like, hey, everybody, look what I can do, and just ruin the vibe for everyone involved.
Well, I think, what was it you, Eric, that maybe it was Mark, but you guys were talking about a drummer should be like, you're going through a cave and you're the one with the light, and you're kind of guiding everyone. That wasn't you, that was Mark.
I can't take credit for that quote. It might have been Mark that said that, but I have started saying that all the time.
Is that a Mark Juliana quote?
No, Mark Stepbro. Sorry, Mark Stepbro.
Mark Stepbro. Got it.
The thing when it comes to improv with Mark Juliana, that I always go back to is, this isn't part of the Chick Corea thing, but if you don't know what to do, just make a drastic choice, and then that will do something. Something will happen, you know? Yeah, make everyone sound good. That's the point of a drummer. I mean, I do kind of push back a little bit when you say that we don't have melodies, because then you kind of think, well, what is a melody? I'm trying to be that guy right now. It's like, obviously I know what you mean by that.
Or Terry Bozzio's got melodies.
Exactly. Well, yeah. But just because the melody's not, I guess, necessarily one note per hit, you know, there are melodies there. And is phrasing a melody? Like, I mean, people can sing drum parts.
Yeah, absolutely. I think drums can be melodic. I mean, there's so many incredible drum beats that are so sing-alongable, you know? What's that Zigaboo beat?
The Sissy Strut.
Yes, Sissy Strut. Dude, that's like one of the most melodical drum beats out there. Or the 50 Ways. Super melodic as well. Right?
Yeah, make everyone else sound good. If not, then what are you doing? You're just an asshole.
Yep.
All right, so...
Is that the Chick Corea quote?
Yeah, man, that's the paraphrase.
Yeah. Play with, number 12, play with a relaxed body. Always release whatever tension you create. It's a big reaction from Rafa.
Yes. Yeah. It makes me think of Dave DiCenzo. Yeah, that's something that I live by, playing relaxed. Just notice, it's so noticeable just by how it sounds, how tense someone is. And of course, when you're reaching for something that's a little outside your comfort zone, when you're feeling in that flow state, there's going to be a little tension within you. But to be able to find the space for a breath, to unlock the jaw, most importantly, and then, you know, just to have that physical checkup. It's a fully intentional thing. While you're playing, be able to breathe and make that mental to body communication flow, because that also affects how you look on stage. Specifically as a drummer, you want to ooze confidence to everyone, but most importantly, your bandmates. You want to make that lead singer feel confident that you are holding it down and that they can just feel free to do whatever they want, whatever is speaking through them. So a couple things that I do before every show, I warm up to make sure that I'm not tight with my hands and not getting any blisters. It's just simple rudiments, nothing too crazy, just to get my fingers moving. And then I also like to chew gum when I play. That way I'm not clenching my teeth. Also gives me something else to do, like blowing bubbles. I love doing that because it's like, okay, if I'm able to blow bubbles, like I know that I'm relaxed. You know, it's another thing that my body is doing, so it requires that fluidity within me.
Well, to echo with that, I think Chris was saying, sometimes in certain songs he will play with a drum key in his hand just because it forces him to be outside of, it's something that he has to focus on. And it makes him not get lost in everything else.
I always think it's so interesting that we spend so much time thinking about the actual act of hitting the drums, when in reality that is the smallest fraction of the time we spend playing drums. Most of what we do when we play drums, it's prepping to play. It's coming off of the bounce and kind of being in tune with that physicality, you know, being able to think about what's happening in the space between notes physically. Am I relaxed? Am I able to breathe and chew gum? You know, like that's like that upper echelon. It goes back to what we were talking about with the mechanical thinking, right? You're not thinking about this robotic motion. You're thinking about all of the space to breathe in between, all of the, you know, and then the actual hit the drum is just this tiny fraction of a second.
Right. Ben, and with you bringing up the drum key in the hand, do you guys ever play with rings on your fingers?
Every time. I'm never not playing with these. These have been on my fingers probably for 3 years. I guess in a weird way, it reminds me where my sticks are in my hand. It's almost like a little reference point, but it's never hindered me because it's obviously the main points are here, and my thumb. So it's never really hindered me.
It's been a new thing for me wearing rings, and the past few shows I've forgotten to remove them. And it's been a thing like, oh my God, I need to find the time within this song, whenever there's a break, to take them out, to then be able to play. I find them moving, like almost
Sure.
coming off of my fingers. So then it gets in the way, you know?
And it is true, your body does expand and contract throughout the day just with the temperature. And when it's cold outside, some of these rings will almost fall off. What about you, Eric? I mean, I'm sure you have your
So
wedding ring
jealous.
on.
They look so good. I wish I could play in rings. It was funny because I actually like ran into this issue after I got married and was trying to play with my wedding ring, and it just the way it clacked on the drumstick, I was like, it's driving me crazy. So I wear a silicone ring almost 100% of the time. I got to learn to play in rings, so you gotta figure
You don't
it out.
got to do
It
anything,
looks
man.
great.
You just got to make the
It
music
looks
feel good,
good.
baby.
But that's the thing too. With the rings, you also get the benefit of like wherever I'm at, I can
Yeah, that's
I can
true,
like
whether I like it
click
or not.
whack around and just like it's another texture for me to be playing around with.
Whether
So
the people around you like it or not is.
hey,
Well,
I'm
I
not
mean, I'll
thinking
say
about
this.
the audience. I am not thinking
Yeah.
about the audience.
That's right. There you go.
I mean, Eric might not know this, but Richard Starkey, his name is Ringo because he wore rings all the time. And that's not like me making a pun. That's literally why he got the name. And so if it's good enough for Ringo playing for 6 hours, 7 nights a week, I think I can deal with it too.
Yeah, fair
That's
enough.
it. I'm out on rings now.
I'm not even gonna play with fingers now.
I'm kidding.
I mean, objectively, you play the best you'll ever play when you're relaxed. I don't think anyone would disagree with that, and if they do, I think they're wrong. But I mean, it's funny enough. We were talking about the Inner Game of Tennis last week with Steve Durham, and I did read it, and it's amazing. I think everyone should read it. And they talk about self one is the thinker, and self two is the doer. And so I think so many times we get tensed up because we don't trust self two to take things in and then adjust. We think that in order for the body, like let's just say the body in this instance is the doer. Like, you know, say I'm doing a fill and within the first measure or the first time I do a fill on stage, I hit the rim of the floor tom. I'm just like, next time you do a fill, you have to make sure you're focused so you don't hit the rim. And then we tense up when we do that fill because the thinker is getting in the way. The self one is getting in the way. But I don't think we trust our body enough to subconsciously adjust. We will adjust if you acknowledge it and you don't view it as good or bad. It just happened. We need to let our body know that next time if we relax, it will adjust. We assume that it won't adjust unless we're constantly thinking about it. And so I think, and granted, I've only played one show since I've read this book, but it does make a big difference to just trust yourself, relax, and know that you don't have to be yelling at yourself the whole time to improve.
It's funny. I literally, so I came here from a rehearsal where most of the songs are like brushwork. I don't get the opportunity to play a lot of brushes.
Same.
So I had a hard time starting every song. But once I hit like a minute and a half in, I was like, okay, now I'm in my flow state. I'm relaxed. But those first like 30 seconds where I'm just like, I've never noticed my arms before.
Right.
It's just like this totally.
Wait a second.
Yeah, hold
Is
on.
it an 8 shape or is it an
Yeah, what am
infinity
I-
shape?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So number 13, create space. Begin, develop, and end phrases with intention. Do you think drummers think enough about phrasing, or do you think we think mostly in patterns? And the follow-up to that is, what do you think is the difference between a phrase and a pattern?
Well, first I want to start with the whole begin, build, and end thing. Immediately, my friend Micah, who was playing keys that day, was hosting these journal sessions at his place, and he's a beautiful pianist, and he played these pieces for 45 minutes to an hour, and he would begin with that intention, with like, super thought of like, it felt like he was just really confident with himself to begin it, and he had all the time in the world to build it, and then when he came to ending it, he would just find himself with a little motif and repeat it, slowed it down with the retardando, and just like he would just create the space where you're holding for your breath, just like expecting that end to come. I just remember seeing, like, I was sitting across from the room, seeing his back and his playing, and he's hanging his head under his shoulders as he's playing those final notes, and it's just like such a beautiful thing, and I'm trying to explain a feeling through words, but that's such a powerful thing to have the intention to consider the beginning and the end. I think those two are the most important ones, but of course to be able to build, create that climax, to reach the end from the beginning, I think it's huge.
I guess for me, I interpret that as making the audience or allowing them to trust you. This is not about music, but, and I'll die on this hill, Ari Aster is a great director, but this movie he made a few years ago with Joaquin Phoenix called Beau is Afraid is...
Yes.
You're not going to like how we're going with this.
It's the only one I haven't seen. I'm so upset.
Is, I think, one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And I will die on that hill because here's the thing. I think maybe I went into it with a different intention. If you go into it thinking that it's a fever dream, then you might enjoy it. And I think there's little individual scenes, and I don't even know if you would call them scenes. And if you've seen it and you're listening,
Yes.
and Rafa, you have, it's like after a while, the director keeps introducing these scenarios and these little side quests, and almost none of them have an ending, which again, if you want to portray or you want to invoke a certain emotion in the audience of frustration and maybe what Beau is feeling, maybe he's doing the exact perfect thing. But for the mindset I was in that day, and again, I'll give him credit. He was not caring about the audience. He was making a movie talking about his mommy issues, which at the end there's a giant penis that is like,
Yep.
it's a
Spoilers, dude. I gotta.
So many spoilers.
I'm gonna spoil it because I don't think anyone should watch this movie.
No.
But after a while, I stopped trusting him. After a while, he would introduce characters, and I'm like, I'm not going to get a resolution. I don't care anymore. So for that reason, I think that you want the audience to trust you, and you want the audience to at least know that if they're going to allow themselves to go on this journey, that you have some sort of, not even a plan that you know about, but that you want to develop it in a way that seems in some way making a statement. I don't ever want to make someone feel like Ari made me feel in Beau is Afraid. There you go. That's my hill.
Yeah. Okay.
I love that. I always think of, for me, I always think of the word safe. Like, I want them to feel safe. I especially get this feeling with singers, and it's probably like the American Idol thing. Actually, it's probably a perfect example of like when you watch somebody singing on like a singing show, American Idol, where you have this like safety when you watch them where you're like, I know they're going to hit this next note. I feel safe and secure.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you know what intonation is or not, it's all those subconscious things, the way that they approach it, the confidence that they have, which I think is probably the most important thing for us when we're dealing with structure. But you get this kind of like safe, relaxed feeling where it's like, I don't need to be tense. I don't need to have my shoulders up. I know this person's got me. And then you listen to like a bad audition on American Idol, and you're like, your shoulders are up to your ears, and you're like, I don't know what's about to happen, and I don't trust this person. And that's, I guess, a similar way that I would approach the same thing,
Right.
minus the Ari Aster analogy, where it's like I want to kind of guide everybody to shore safely. We're kind of navigating, again, going back to the flashlight analogy. You're navigating this terrain in the safest way that you can, and everyone feels secure, and they're like, cool, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing, and we can go with intention, it'll all be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want to touch a little bit on the Beau is Afraid thing.
Please.
I'm one of those guys that absolutely despises trailers for movies. I don't like anything being spoiled.
Sure.
I walked into Beau is Afraid not knowing what the movie was about. I saw Joaquin Phoenix. I'm like, I'm down.
I mean, same, yeah.
So I was like, I love walking into a movie and then letting the movie do the work. Sometimes I get severely disappointed. But what I'm trying to get to is, like, thinking of the beginning and thinking of the end and everything, it's also important to considering not prefacing before you begin, right? When someone walks in on stage and is like, and lets you know that this song is not fully done, or this is the first time, or whatever, like, let your audience make that decision for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
of like whether the song is good or not, or whatever. That shows your intention in the beginning of it. If you're like walking in and giving away that something is not in its best ability, I think that's you're cheating the audience from experiencing at their own perspectives, their own true perspectives.
All right, so number 14. This is specifically with drums, I guess. He wrote this for drummers. Never beat or pound your instrument. Play it easily and gracefully. I mean, I don't even think we have to really go too far into this one. It's just there is diminishing returns with how hard you hit your drums. And the older I get, the more I hate cymbals, the less I want to play them. Live is different depending on if you have to cut through some guitars and stuff. But anyways, that's my view. Eric, how do you take that?
I feel like there's like little sly digs specifically at drummers in this list that's making me laugh. like the balance one, and then kind of casually, or if you're playing keyboards with two keyboards, it's like that doesn't really apply. You're talking to drummers, it's fine. You can call us out. But no, yeah, this is for sure a no-brainer. It's similarly covered in the playing relaxed kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
All right, so number 15, unless, Rafa, you have something to add to that. I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
It's pretty self-explanatory. Yep. I don't have much to add.
So 15, create space, then place something in it. I think I'll go back to what Eric has said so many times. Drummers have note envy, unless it's a cymbal, which I hate, as you guys know. It's just transient and then not a whole lot, or a quick decay. And so it's really hard. Space is the scariest word for us. Like some people, it's speaking in public. For drummers, it's hitting one note.
Dude, I think I might have mentioned this on the last podcast we did, but I had a jam with a couple friends. It got to a point of the jam where we were just doing one hit on the 4 of every 4 bars in unison. And then just all that space to just like fill. Anyone that wanted to throw any ideas in between, but always meeting into that.
Was there someone keeping time?
We started in a groove and eventually fell into just that, like that chatter in between, like just that one, and then just you get into, and then just like exploring that space in between, and it was an euphoric feeling. And I was like, oh my, like we had just jammed for maybe an hour or two, just different ideas. And my friend Tim, who was also there at that jam that you came, Ben, also a drummer, it was all in their garage studio, and he had 2 kits set up, so we were already like interacting with one another, playing with each other. Yeah, man, I think you create that space, right? Just putting one single quarter note every 4 bars. You're creating that canvas, like you have this whole big thing, and there's just this one little dot. Like it's almost like a limitation, but also not. It's just setting a parameter for you to express yourself. And I think that's such a good thing to trick our brains into letting go, because you're so focused on that little parameter. There's this like weird neural connection that happens that you just, something that's unexpected to you comes out because of that little parameter. And it's awesome to just make note of that and understand why that is. And I think this also touches on having the perspective of a child. If something is as simple as that, and you're just like in awe of that simple thing, of that, how can a quarter note feel so incredible, so like euphoric? It invokes all this excitement within you to just be in awe.
Yeah, that's the big thing that I always think about is limitation breeds creativity. Looking at something simple and just kind of dwelling on it can be the most inspiring thing ever. If there's too many things, if it's too unfocused, you get the option paralysis thing where it's like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to hit. I don't know what to play. But more often than not, I feel like when I'm kind of boxed in, when I have parameters that are set, then I can really be creative and explore what the outer edges are. What fits in the box, what doesn't fit in the box, The
second part of this one is create space, then place something in it. And you can also interpret that as the thing you're placing in it doesn't have to be something you're playing. Like going back to Steve Gadd, you could be playing quarter notes, but he's so good at implying that swung feeling in quarter notes. You can just do it in your head, and that will change how you play the groove. Less is more.
Always.
All right, last one. And I don't think this is in any particular order of how he wants to yell at drummers, but I think this is just
Saying the quiet
number
part out
16. All right, so use mimicry sparsely. Mostly create phrases that contrast with and develop the phrases of the other players.
Sometimes if someone's soloing and they're hitting like a hemial or like a da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, you like catch those hits.
Yeah.
And sometimes people love it. Sometimes people hate it. You can do it too much,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, younger musicians, if you hear a pattern, you want to mimic it with the bass drum, or you want to mimic it with like a splash or something, And a lot of times that becomes fatiguing. And also it just doesn't become interesting. It's just like there's two people on stage doing a speech. You don't want them to just like be talking in unison. You want them to have a story they're telling back and forth.
You want them to have a story where they're talking back and forth.
And then Ben's a good drummer.
Who?
I think I agree with the whole don't mimic anything. But I think if you can imply the mimicry, maybe,
Yes.
that could be cool.
Yeah.
The true element of this is like, with music, when you repeat something, it validates it, right? So if you do a simple melodic rhythm and you repeat it, it really validates it and it makes it concrete. So you could, in an improvised setting, copy what they were doing and then imply that you're copying it with your next bar coming in, maybe by just playing the first two notes of that melodic rhythm and then leaving out the rest, leaving the space, so that you're implying that it's being there, but it's not truly there. That creates that tension that something is new and not fully married to that idea, and creating that mimicry thing,
You're acknowledging that you're listening, you're acknowledging you're making the either the musician or the notes feel seen.
Right.
Just as long as you can let them know that you are hearing them, then I think you can do what you want. And mimicry is, I guess, the lowest hanging fruit. But yeah, I mean, and sometimes mimicry is amazing, but just don't have that be your default.
Right.
Yeah, it's like you want to give somebody else an opportunity to explore without you jumping on their back and being like, "Oh, I see you're repeating this phrase. Here I am too."
Yeah.
It's like, dude.
Well, sometimes they're like, I don't want to stay here, and then, or sometimes you do mimic it, then it gives them permission to then move on, and then it's like you're creating the bed that feels comfortable for the audience, then they can move on. But again, there's no rules. I mean, it's to be specific. This is not Chick Corea's rules. It's cheap but good advice.
16 ways to scold your drummer.
And that's the show. If you're listening on a platform that allows ratings and reviews, do that. It helps more people find the show, so it'll get bigger and better, and hopefully I'll have a chance to sell out one day. But you'll be an OG listener that can brag to all your friends. Anyways, why don't you go and check us out at bigfatsnaredrum.com and follow us on all the socials. Just search for Big Fat Snare Drum and you will find us. The show is edited in part using Isotope RX Audio Editor. It's amazing, so go check that out at isotope.com. And thanks again to Gunnar Olsen for the theme music. Bye!